Hey everyone, it's Mr. Southerd coming at you with a video on Unit 6 multiple choice practice test. So let's take a look at this. All right, first things first, we have the first question has some code for you. Okay, so we have public class book, private double cost. That's a variable instantiated um, and initialized, and we have looks like we have this constructor for get cost, or sorry, method for get cost. That's going to return the cost, and you can take a look at all of this. Okay, so there's some missing code here, and it's wondering what should go in there so that the get total method works as intended. Okay, so before we can begin kind of understanding like which answer choice might be, let's take a look and see what's happening with the missing code area. Well, what's going to happen is, let me try and zoom in a bit. We're going to go ahead and know that the following method appears in the class called book. The intention here is to sum all the cost instance variables of the book objects in its array list parameter. Okay, so here we're going to start double total equals 0, 0.0. So clearly I need to go through the array list and add all the values, right? So I'm noticing here in Roman numeral 1 is we're going to go ahead and go through the book list, traverse through it, and then do the total plus equals. It's going to get the x value, right? Instead of index, they use x, which is fine. And they're going to get cost for each one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get the information on the value of x, and then also retrieve its cost as well. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and do a running total. So 1 works just fine. If I look at 2, instead we now have an enhanced for loop. It looks like it's just going to get the cost for each, or I guess it's going to get cost for each element within the array list called B. Um, so, okay, that's great. And then what else do we got? And then option 3 here is going to be another identical looking array list. And instead of using the array list to get cost, it's just going to do get cost of B. So clearly we have a problem here with this last code because we need the array list to call the method. So the only possible choices are going to be 1 and 2 here. So there's that. Okay, next up. Looks like we're going to take a look at the code segment where we have array list using the integer wrapper class to create a new array list. And it looks like we're going to add elements or add 4, and then number 5. And then, okay, so we start with 4, 5. And then check out what this does. That element number 1, index number 1, is going to insert the number 3. So let me go ahead and let's see if I can annotate on this bad boy. Okay, so I'm going to start with 4. Then I got 5. And then I'm going to remember, so we have index 0, index 1. Just number them all. Okay, so in this case, we're going to add that element or index number 1, we're going to add element 3. So here, there's going to be a new element 1 that's going to push 5 down to here, and then add 3 instead. And then now we're going to add 6 to replace, not replace, but to insert in. So we're going to go ahead and move 3 down to here, and then 5 down to here, and insert 6 where 1 is at. So it should be 4, 6, 3, 5. 4, 6, 3, 5, which will be option E, it looks like. Trying to go back to the clicker. There we go. Moving right along. Let me erase everything. All right, so then we got some sort of array list. Let's look at the double wrapper class, and it's going to go ahead and add all of these to the speed rating array list. Cool. Okay, so we got decimal, 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 and then so same thing again, where I'm just trying to keep track of where all of these elements are going in. Right up top, we got a set. Okay, so remember sets, what they do is instead of 8.94, it's going to go ahead and basically write over it. So 2.14 will be the first element. And that'll be 7.33, 6.56, 4.24. And then it looks like we're doing a set again. So I'm going to go ahead and number these 0, 1, 2, 3 here. Okay. So 0 got replaced, right? The index number 0, 8.94 got replaced 2.14. And then index number 2, which is 6.56, got replaced with 7.63. So my final value should be 2.14, and then it should go to 7.33, and then 7.63. So it should be option, was that C there? I guess the middle one. All right, let me erase. So again, it's a good idea to have pencil and paper as you do this. It would be a lot easier. Once again, kind of the same thing. If you go through this, it's just going to go ahead and use the add. Just pay special attention to the word set as they come up. Okay, you got to be careful because that's going to go ahead and replace index number 2, whatever element's there, with the word octopus. So we're probably going to start with shark, then go to whale, and then go to turtle. But instead of turtle, we're going to place with octopus, and then we're going to insert squid. Okay, so there's a lot of the sets and adds you have to be careful of. So the answer here is whale and octopus once you write out your list. Again, use pencil and paper, right? Because it's going to get index number 2 and 3 to return. Okay, so marching right along. I'm trying to go through these quickly just so if it's hard, you can ask me questions. So we have a string called ClICkBaTe rocks, and we have some sort of number that's an integer that takes the length of the string and stores it. So simply, what's the value of num? This is just going to be how many index or how many elements are in that string for ClICkBaTe rocks. So we add them all up. Again, we include space. It'll have a length of 14. So there's that. So hopefully some of these are pretty straightforward. Now we have APCSA rocks, right? That's stored in. We have a counter. We have some sort of regular for loop that's going to traverse the array, and it's going to go, or sorry, not the array. Well, it is an array in the sense that it is a string, right? So each one of these letters has an index number. And it looks like we have this if here where it says if it's not the substring of S from I minus 1 to I, right? So it's the preceding number and there. If that's not equal to A, then add 1 to the counter. Okay, we're going to print counter. So now we're just looking at how many times does counter happen. So in other words, when we don't have A, just count it. So I see A. So how many index numbers are there? That's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's 11 of these, but we're going to go ahead and did I miss anything? So in this case, if the substring that we extract equals A, if that's not true, add 1 to the counter. Okay, so we're going to take a look at all possibilities where we don't have a letter A. So at first glance, I see an A here and an A here, right? So I'm inclined to do 11 minus 2, which is 9. But hold up. Look at it. Remember, case sensitive, right? So that's a lowercase a. I don't see any lowercase a's here. So it's a trick. So instead, it's just going to be, there's never a match for uppercase A and lowercase a. So the answer is 11. Tricky, right? Okay, moving right along. We got now this thing happening here. We have a regular for loop that's going to go ahead and set index equal to the length of the string minus 1. Keep going while index number is greater than the length of the string divided by 2. And we're going to go ahead and when you do this minus equals, right? So every time we run, it's going to deduct 2 from the value of index. RET here is a string data type that's going to go ahead and return the letter that precedes the index value, right? So it's I minus 1 up until the index value. We're going to return RET. Okay, so then I have this mystery input, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we're going to find out what's going on here in terms of the output. So again, it's going to skip and go 2 index values forward, right? Or less, I should say, every time I run the loop. Okay, so essentially what's happening here is here's my string, right? We're going to go ahead and start. We're going to go ahead and start from right here. Can I take away that highlight button? Sorry, I messed up there. We're not going to start from G. Where are we starting from? If we look at the the regular for loop, you'll notice that we're setting index value equal to the length minus 1. We're going to start from there. So 1 before G is F, right? So we're going to start from F. And then we're going to go ahead and run the loop, and it's going to go ahead and take F, and it's going to go ahead and add it to my list. Cool. And then it's going to go ahead and it's going to basically go 2 back from here. So we're going to go from F, E, and then the second one down is going to be D. So my second letter should be D. And one thing I gotta say too that I'm not talking about is we're gonna run this as long as my index value is greater than the or equal to the length of the string divided by 2. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my value is 7 divided by 2, so which is 3.5. So as long as my index values are at least 4, right? That's the next highest integer, then we're good. Well, check it out. If you number these, A is 0, B is 1, C is 2, D is 3, right? Or 0, 1, 2, 3, you're going to find out that we're going to eventually get to a point where we're going to be able to capture D, which is fine. But then the next iteration over, we're going to run out of variables, run out of values. Okay. So again, length is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So we're going to divide that by 2, which is 3.5. So every time I run the loop, this has to be satisfied. We're going to be able to capture D because what's going to happen is that next iteration of the loop will be 4. Index value will be 4, which is greater than 3.5. So it'll capture F and D, but it will not capture anything else because it'll stop looping at that point. So here's my answer. Alrighty, almost done. Now we got some sort of string word that's going in for this mystery function, or method, I should say. And what are we doing? It looks like we're doing a regular for loop so that my index value is less than the word length. Gonna do an increment at the end, and then here we go. There's mod. Remember, mod, what it does is when it divides the value of k by 3, it should be a remainder of 1. So again, if I did k divided by 3, that's going to lead to a remainder of 1, is the idea. If that's true, then it's going to go ahead and take the substring of the previous letter and the letter after, but not the letter in between. Okay, so we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So the question is, which one of these are we going to go ahead and capture? Again, it's going to go ahead and print out or it's going to add to return RDT what the letters are that satisfies this criteria. Okay. So in order to do that, let's take a look at the index values here and basically run through the for loop. It is really helpful to have pencil and paper here just so you can test it out. So remember, when you divide by 3 and only get a remainder of 1, there's only going to be a couple things that meet this criteria, a couple spots. The first one, if you go from, right, 0, 1, 2, those are all less than 3. 3 divided by 3 has a remainder of 0, so it's going to be where E is, right? And that says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the other one. And then we're going to go ahead and grab the values that are around it, right? So the answer here, let me just see. So we have G, H. And then every time, let me just check something here. We're going to go ahead and run it. Oh, we're starting from index value 0. Okay, yeah, so it's going to find any places where mod 3 is equivalent to 1. And you're going to find all of those places to be at those letters, and then we're going to go ahead and grab the previous value and the next value and then add it to return. So if we look at our possibilities here, just see, go back here again, this is where pencil and paper would be very helpful to have. And I do realize something here, guys. I apologize. When we have this guy, so 0, when you divide 0 divided by 3 is just 0. But when you take 1 and divide it by 3, right, now we have a remainder of 2. But if you look at C, we would have essentially the value of, or sorry, the second iteration here for index value 1, if you divide that by 3, then you'll essentially have that value of 1 for the index value 1 divided by 3 is going to be mod 1. So on the second go around, you're going to be able to capture, and it's going to run the substring, in this case, from 0 to 2. And the first go around. So again, k is 1, so we're going to subtract 1, so it's going to go from A to B. So we're going to go ahead and capture AB, which is great. And then we're going to do E as well, and that's going to capture the next 2 letters, right? So then we keep going on and on. capturing, and then we get this final answer, which is, let's see, we got AB, and then we keep adding on to it. And then we got GH. It looks like we have DE. So we're going to have AB, DE, and GH. And then it looks like we're going to print that mystery value. And I'm just trying to see if it's doing anything else. Oh, and at the very end, you see how it says plus RAT? So even though we have AB for our first two values, that's going to go at the very end, essentially. Okay, so our only answer choice where AB is getting to the end is just this guy. So there we go. So that's kind of tricky. Again, be sure to use the pencil and paper. Just erase all my stuff here. Here's another one. We have looks like a mystery number we're hunting for. We're going to go ahead and run through. In this case, the difference is we have this remove, right? So we're going to remove, it looks like item number 0 from our array list. Anything else going on, and it's going to go ahead and add obj. So we have, again, regular for loop. It's going to start with 0, run until we get less than n. So we're going to have some sort of number input. And we're supposed to figure out what is the value of numList after mystery 5 executes. Okay, so my mystery number here is 5. So I'm going to keep running the for loop until we get to basically 4, right, for n. And then first thing I'm going to do is go to the object, and we're going to remove the 0th element. So once you run this a bunch of times, again, starting with the value 5, you'll see that your array list, because we're removing the 0th element, but adding the new object, right, after looking at 5, is going to be choice A here. All right, moving right along. Okay, so we have some sort of method where we're adding 10 using an integer that's coming in. It's going to return n plus 10. And then we're going to get this in the add 10 method. And so when you actually plug in the values, let me just make sure I had the question correct. It just says, what if anything is printed as a result of executing code segment? So if we do n plus 10, we start with a number as 25, and we're going to go ahead and add that number to the add 10. Okay, or we're going to use that number 25 to do add 10. And we're going to print the result. Okay, so it says integer result equals new number. Okay, so basically what we're doing is we're taking a primitive data type and going to wrapper class. So what do we call that? So that is, what's that? I believe that was auto boxing, right? So we're going from the primitive data type to the wrapper class. So you can go ahead and add the 10. There's no problem with that. So my final answer will be 35. All right, a couple more left to go. So here we have, at first glance, it seems like we just have all double data types. But look, we have the primitive, the wrapper class, and then the primitive again. So, okay, so basically what's happening is here we have D3, which is the double for the wrapper class, right? That's going to take in a new double for 30. Okay, nothing wrong with that. So assigns D3 the value of 30. Here it's a little bit noteworthy. We have a primitive data type called D4, and we're going to go ahead and declare a new double with capital D. So that's a wrapper class value of 40.0. We're going to store it in D4. Okay. So in other words, what's happening is in D1, we just have a primitive data type. D2, we have the wrapper object, right? Or wrapper class double. And then here we have a new double object assigned to as the value for double. And then here we have a primitive data type called double that is assigned the value of double with the value of 40.0. Okay, so if we add them up, 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40, that would just simply give me 100. There won't be any compilation errors from here. So that's that. Okay, so we have another array list they're attacking us from for the multiple choice. We're going to go ahead and if you had a piece of paper, this would be pretty easy to do. Just make sure you're keeping track of what you're adding. So we're starting with Atlanta, Baltimore, right? Chicago, so it's 0, 1, 2. Then we're going to add, which means insert in Detroit at top. So it's going to go Detroit, Atlanta, Baltimore, Chicago. We're going to remove index number 3, so Chicago is gone. sum up with Detroit, Atlanta, Baltimore. And then we're going to add El Paso at the top. So it'd be El Paso, Detroit, Atlanta, Baltimore, and then print it out. So what did I say? El Paso, Detroit, Atlanta, Baltimore. What's that? So easy to do if you talk it out loud, but please, since there's other people taking a test as well, just go ahead and write it down. Here, mod comes back again. So we have a for list or a for loop that's running, a normal for loop. And we're going to go ahead and increment at the end of the loop. Control variable is just going to be less than the size of the array list. We're going to get that value for the index and do mod 2. So when mod 2 does not equal 0, that means this is an odd number, right? That means the remainder is going to be 1, or it could be more, I guess, but it's mod 2. Then we're going to remove it. So if we get an odd number, remove it, and then return it. Okay, so it seems, and we have this remove method inside of an if statement inside of a regular for loop. So I'm not too nervous about the fact that it's kind of or that there's going to be some sort of error happening here. But if we take a look, what's going to happen though is, remember, the remove. So I'm not seeing an index minus minus anywhere at the end of this, right? So whenever we remove, so let me just throw down some numbers here. Excuse me. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, just to start. Okay, so index value 0 is going to be 1. It's going to get 1. Is 1 divided by 2 give me a random equals 0? Yeah, that's true. So it's going to go ahead and remove it. Okay, but then it's going to loop again, but check what happens, right? So it's going to be 2, 3, 4, since everything shifts left one spot. So what's going to happen is you're going to get to a point where it's going to skip some of the list because the index of all subsequent elements changed by 1. So when you remove an item from the list, even though it's in a regular for loop, don't forget that shifts everything downwards. So you're going to skip the second value there, right? And so on and so forth. So that's kind of problematic. Okay. Anything else going on here? We have an enhanced for loop. Okay, so we're going to put some fruits in there, apple, banana, coconut, etc. And it's going to go ahead and say if word dot index of A. So remember, index of is going to find the location of A. So if it is greater than or equal to 0, count it. Well, apple has an A at index value 0, right? So that'll count. There's a banana, right? That's going to start with some sort of value at 1, right? And there's a couple more instances. Coconut has nothing, lemon has nothing, and orange has nothing. Okay, so we're going to see what is printed at the end of it. So it's just trying to count how many times the letter A pops up. And one thing before I just move ahead, pay attention to, there's the word pair. I realize that's on a different line right now. But when you do index of, it only finds A one time. So it finds the first instance of A. So basically it's going to count which of these words have the letter A. If you count them all, apple, banana, orange, and pear, it's going to be 4. All right, one more. Here we have some sort of method called rearrange. It's going to take in a string data type, and then it's going to go ahead and run through the array list. Sorry, not the array list. It's going to run through the word, right? str.length -1. As long as I is greater than 0, we're going to go ahead and decrement I at the end of every loop. We're going to go ahead and do substring of the value before I up until I. So it's getting one letter at a time to return temp. All right, so we have this word computer. Let's see which one of these will capture. Let me go ahead, since we're dealing with text here, go ahead and number these, right? So I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the R is 7. Okay. Okay, so when we start this thing, we're going to start with the length of str here it's 8 letters, right? Number from 0 to 7. So we're going to go ahead and start with number 7 and work our way down. So it's going to take the letter R and it's going to do the substring. So at index value 7, right? It's going to go ahead and pull out from letter E, but not including R. So the first letter I have is E, and then I'm going to go one down from there. So that's index number 6, which is E, but it's going to take one before it, right? So it's going to take T. and then use, so it's just reading it backwards, and then eventually it'll time out at 0. So the answer is this guy. All right, hope this helps. Have a good one.